Welcome to the way of mastery. And as usual, I want to remind you of the guidelines, which is basically that you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. That if you hear it, if you use it, you'll see that it's true. And we've been talking about the last few weeks about if you want to accept a new idea, if you want to accept a new truth, the Course in Miracles teaches that there are 4 stages to doing that. And the first stage is what? Hearing it. So first, if I'm ready to change my mind about something, I need to hear some new ideas. If it's really new and different from what I already believe, then obviously when I first hear it, I'm not going to believe it. And so the first stage is to repeat it over and over and over again. Start to consider it more and more and more. Then you keep repeating it to yourself, and then the next stage is you start to accept it more and more with some reservations. And then you keep repeating the idea to yourself, and then you finally accept it as true. And when you accept it as true, then you perceive it in your physical reality, then you perceive it in your perception. So it's very important to realize that when you first hear new ideas, that for a while you'll have your old ideas and your new ideas, and you'll be switching back and forth between the two, and that produces a lot of a conflict that can become quite acute. And so what you have to do is keep on moving in the direction of the idea that you want to side with until it's the idea that's stronger than the idea that you want to let go of. It's almost like you have to forget in order to remember better. So the other thing to keep in mind then is that your perception is a reflection of what you believe and what you've learned, and not necessarily the truth, but what you believe is what you're going to perceive. So our perception, according to the Course and the Way of Mastery, our perceptions are lovely liars. That they just present to us what I believe. So therefore, if I believe it, I see it, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And so then it takes it a step further and goes, if you're not feeling inner peace, if you're not feeling joy, you can pretty much get that your perception is not correct. That's one of the quickest ways for you to recognize that your perception might be off, is by the way you feel. So when we come here, also another thing that's really great to keep in mind is that this is a class that's almost like spiritual psychotherapy, because it's very much rooted in the idea that we didn't create ourselves, and that there is a higher power operating in our experience, but we're not doing it in the traditional way that people look at it in terms of punishment, sin, guilt, and all that stuff. So this is a way of looking at things that's rooted in love, and that's rooted in unconditional love. And we've been taught anything other than we are unconditionally loved, and that we're innocent, and that we're guiltless, but we sometimes make errors in perception, and that's what's creating the pain that we're going through. So we're getting new ways to look at things in order for us to have inner peace. And when you have inner peace, you can hear your inner guidance. And it's our inner guidance that's telling us what to do at every moment of the day, but we don't hear it because we're listening to the stuff we've learned, and the stuff that we are telling ourselves, and the stuff we've convinced ourselves of. So what I'm going to do, as usual, is go through some of the material, about 10 minutes of it, and then throw it open for questions or discussion for about 5 minutes, and then go through some more material. That way we'll move forward through it, which is what I want to do. I want to hear as much as I can about what I'm being taught and what I'm being told, so I can apply that. I wish I could say everybody's opinions were just as important, but they're not, including my own. Okay, but we'll everybody have a chance to voice theirs, because we understand how important it is that we do that. So I'll give everybody an opportunity to do that, because we know that something isn't true unless you believe it and you agree with it, and I agree with it, and then it's true. Okay, so I understand how that works. So we're going to start out with, if you got the book, I'm going to be on page 38. And that's the section that's called Ending the Day. That's where we left off last week. And I want to go back through that right quick and read through what it's saying, and then let's kind of elaborate on that. It says, ending your day. It's very, very important to let each day be sufficient unto itself. When you end your day, always truly end it. So we're moving toward the end of our day. Do not take 4 hours of ritual. You can do it within one breath. It says, as you take a deep breath, as you rest your head upon the pillow, look upon the whole day. As a matter of fact, take a minute to just close your eyes and let's do this while we're doing this. So it just won't be an intellectual thing, because I got the feeling that all of us had a day. Okay, so it's just, I'm psychic, but I just kind of got that feeling that we all have had a day. Okay, so what you want to do is take a breath, and as you take a deep breath, as you rest your head, imagine, upon your pillow, because you want to do this tonight, look upon the whole day. Kind of look back on what you've experienced today, and embrace it in your consciousness. So what I'm saying is, just look at the whole day. Don't judge the whole day. So I'm not asking you to look at the day in terms of what you're pleased about that happened today, or what went right in your perception, or what went wrong in your perception. Just embrace it, okay? And as you let your breath go out, say to yourself, I release and forgive this day. It has been perfect, and it is done. I release and forgive this day. It has been perfect, and it is done. I release and forgive this day. It has been perfect, and it is done. On the exhale. I release and forgive this day. It has been perfect, and it is done. So just let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Just let it go. Why? Because if you don't, you would just bring it with you. And you know that experience. And for 3 weeks, maybe you are saying to yourself, oh gosh, why did I make that decision 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago? If I had only made a different decision, maybe this would have happened and that would not have happened. And that's probably true. But the point is, now 3 weeks later, you're still hitting yourself over the head by bringing the past with you. So bringing the past with you is hitting yourself over the head with it. If you're constantly bringing up things from the past that you wish you had done differently. So then you miss the glory of the present. You have all heard that 1,000 times because it is true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, take a breath, open your eyes. One thing about letting go of the past is this: you cannot not let go what's already gone. So you have to succeed. Okay, you've got to succeed in letting go of the past because it's gone. So the Course in Miracles says that actually, when you're thinking about the past, which is the same as saying what's gone, it says, and then when you're thinking about the future, which it calls not yet. I love that. The gone, the not yet. I'm going to have love in the future. I'm going to have love in the not yet. I'm going to be abundant and happy in the future. I'm going to be abundant and happy. Not yet. I really had this fantastic love in the past. I had this fantastic love in the gone. So it says that when you're thinking about the gone and you're thinking about the not yet, it says it means you're not really thinking at all. And that your mind is actually blank every time you're thinking about the past or the future. You're thinking about the gone or you're thinking about the not yet. You're actually thinking about something that's not occurring. So the Course says your mind is actually blank and that you're not really thinking any real thoughts. And the reason why it looks like our thoughts don't have as much power as we'd like sometimes to manifest in our reality is because we're not thinking thoughts. He says we're thinking images that we made up from the past or about the future, which isn't a thought, according to this, which I think is interesting. Because many times people go, well, you know, if my thought is creative and I keep hearing that my thought manifests and what I focus on is what I create, why isn't it happening? In most cases, it's not happening because no one's ever present. That they're usually anticipating or they're focusing on something that's already happened. And that's not the same as being present in the moment, in your power, creating. That's why I think this is such a great exercise to go, okay, today has happened and it was perfect and it's done. Now it's time for me to be in the present. So it says next, consciousness is a very subtle and powerful thing. You cannot help but create. It's almost like sometimes when people hear that what they are experiencing and what they're feeling is a result of their own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. It's almost as if they think that didn't start until they heard it. It's almost like, I hear that my thoughts are creating my reality. Now I'm going to create a new reality. But in the past, I was a victim. And you were always creating your reality, even when you didn't know you were creating your reality. You were never a victim of anything that was going on. You always were experiencing the results of your thoughts. So that means you can't help but create. You're always creating, all the time, every minute, because you're thinking all the time. So if you take a look at the conversation that you're having in your mind, you're going to very much get an idea about what it is you want to create for yourself. You know, because your ego is the conversation that you're having with yourself in your mind. So the Course then says, remember, the goal of this pathway is to learn to deliberately create in perfect mastery. Therefore, look upon the things of the day and say, it's very good and it's finished. I think it's a challenge sometimes to say it's very good when you think something happened that wasn't very good. But then that brings us to the next spiritual principle, which is that if the universe is based on love, then whether we realize it or not, everything that's happening is happening for some kind of greater good, even though we might not be able to perceive it or understand it right now. Because just because I don't understand something doesn't mean it's not working for a greater good. I used the analogy one time that my brother had some type of an ache that was going on in his back or something, and then he went to the doctor and he found out that he needed desperately to have some heart work done, that he could have made his transition any moment. But he didn't know it, and he wouldn't have known it had he not gone to the doctor because something else was hurting. So the ego man would say, oh, having that pain was a negative thing, but actually having that pain actually saved his life. That pain you might think you're going through because of a relationship that didn't work out, that might have been the best thing that ever happened to you, that it didn't work out the way you thought you wanted it to work out. So what the Course is always teaching us in the way of mastery is we do not perceive our own best interests. It says because we have a very limited perspective of everything. For all we know, we could be a gnat on some giant cosmic elephant's butt and not even have the slightest idea that that's what's happening. I mean, do you think an ant has an awareness that it's crawling on your arm? You see what I'm saying? So we don't get that on a relative level. The same thing could be true for us. Yeah. But we just assume. One of the things that's really cool, because I'm fascinated with science and astronomy and all that kind of stuff, especially being an astrologer and stuff like that. I'm fascinated with that stuff. And the one thing that you'll notice if you follow any of those things is that the astronomers are constantly saying they were wrong. Mm-hmm. That what they thought was happening wasn't happening, and what they thought was one way, they're finding out it's a totally different way than what they thought it was. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's really, we really need to understand that we do not truly perceive what anything is for, right? What we do is project meanings onto things based on our past learning and past experience, right? And then if that past learning and past experience wasn't true, if what we learned wasn't coming from truth, then what we're perceiving is not reflecting that either. You know people who think they aren't loved, and they're surrounded by people who care about them, who they push away. But if you talk to them, they would swear nobody cares about them. They're missing the love that's all around them. Or they sabotage it so that they can be right about the fact that nobody loves them by becoming such a challenge to be around that it looks like, but they don't realize it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're creating it based on their belief. So if tonight we can leave out of here going, I'm going to let my past be over tonight, I'm going to let what's gone be gone, then we move into the next level. So it says each night when you rest your head upon the pillow, you know you're about to go to sleep. Be just like God in your biblical story of creation, in which it is written that on the seventh day God rested. God was finished in a sense within the story. Have that same quality at the end of each of your days. So if you're carrying some kind of emotional reaction about something someone said or did, or something you said or did, practice forgiveness before you sleep. If you don't, you will keep experiencing the conflicting energies during your dream states. And communication between you and the other one who hasn't been forgiven yet will keep on going until the forgiveness is complete within you. So metaphysical teachings teach that trials are just lessons coming back around again, so you can make a different choice this time from the one you made the last time. So we keep having the same things come around in different forms and different people. A friend of mine and I were talking today about how we so clearly see our patterns in relationships. It's really funny. It's like you would think it was almost like the same person with different names, because we would see that we would create very similar patterns over and over again. But when we get together to study and focus on the truth, if we bring up our relationships and we talk about the people we're in relationships with each other, we're not doing it from the perspective of judging them, condemning them, or making them wrong. That's not the conversation. What we're doing is trying to see what it is within ourselves that need to be changed, that continues to create that, which is different from me discussing with you my relationship with my partner and what it looks like my partner is doing from the perspective that I want to see it differently and how can I heal it, than me talking to you about my partner from the perspective that I'm projecting and blaming my partner for what's going on because I'm the one that's doing it right and it looks like they're the one that's doing it wrong. So so they're there to get you in touch with what it is within yourself that needs to be healed, and it's going to keep coming around in every relationship in some form or fashion until you recognize what it is. So when you form a new relationship, you're just giving yourself another opportunity to rid yourself of some kind of a block. Broken in two by hopefully you'll go to some fun things that you do together, which will be great. Okay, that kind of makes it really cool. Makes it. I always tell people, you're not getting in a relationship because you want your life to be easier. Because it's always easier to be alone. Because you don't have to compromise. You do what you want to do, how you want to do it. So anybody that says it's easier being with somebody than being by yourself, they're not being very. They may think it is, but if they looked at it objectively, that's not true. When you join with somebody else, you got to start taking them into consideration, running things by them. You get ready to do something, you want to make sure it's okay. It's a whole different level, But on the other hand, it's very healing in terms of getting you to the point that you remove blocks to the awareness of love. And if you're both conscious enough to say, I want to use this relationship to go past blocks and to get more in touch with the love, then the relationship can be the best thing that ever happened to you if you want to use it for evolutionary purposes and for awakening and for love and for truth. That's how you keep it interesting after the physical attraction begins to get in some kind of a reasonable dimension. Okay, because we know at the beginning the physical attraction is the cheese in the trap. Okay, that gets you in the thing. It's like because in most cases, what the course is saying, what the person is seeing is someone who they think is going to help them complete themselves and going to kind of provide the missing parts that they think is there. So, or I love how the course says that the person is going to help you hide the way you feel about yourself from you for a while. Okay, because let's say I wasn't loving myself like I should, and I have some insecurities, and I wonder if I'm really lovable. Then I meet somebody who's gaga over me, and they're telling me I'm wonderful, and they're telling me that they love me, and I'm the most handsome person. In other words, they're telling me the truth. In my case, they're telling me they have great perception. That's what I say when people say stuff like that to me. Thank you for your correct perception. That's the first thing that comes out of my mouth, rather than, oh no, not me. It's like, no, I learned a long time ago. Cut that stuff out. You acknowledge it, even if you don't think it's true. You want to side with it, right?
Yes.
And so for a while, they're going to temporarily hide what you think about yourself from you. And so, but that's only temporary. Because if you really haven't dealt with your issues, then they're going to trigger them. And then you're going to go, wow, I got into this relationship because it was making me, I thought it was going to make me feel better. Now I have some fears and insecurities in the relationship itself. You know, so just don't fool yourself. The Course teaches that pain comes from self-deception. And I always think about that. That if I'm hurting, I'm deceiving myself about something. It's something I'm not seeing clearly. Okay? And just like if you happen to burn your hand on the stove, you know, it was because you weren't seeing clearly, or you wouldn't have done it. You know, so the Course said you can take that further. Any kind of pain is a form of self-deception. It's a form of you telling yourself something that's not really true. So if your life is full of pain, it means you're deceiving yourself about so much of it that you stay in constant pain. I would much rather believe I'm misperceiving and my misperception could be corrected than to think the thing that's making me miserable is actually a fact of what I'm going through. So it says, we will have much more to say about forgiveness as we begin to plumb the depths of what's discovered. As you practice forgiveness 70 times 7, it takes you deeper and deeper into the very mechanics of consciousness itself, the very mechanics of creation. Put forgiveness at the top of your list until you know how perfectly forgiven you are. Be therefore vigilant against denying what is still in need of forgiveness within you. And for what you deny in yourself, you will project. So anything that I'm denying in myself, I'm going to project in every one of you. Okay? So if I really want to get in touch with what I'm denying in myself, it's what I'm saying about you. So if I say you're selfish, you're crazy, you're uninterested, you're selfish, or whatever I say, now I know that's what I'm in denial about in my own mind. So one day you'll be glad to hear that. Because sometimes the only thing that people have that makes them feel good about themselves is a healthy dose of denial. By lying to themselves about themselves, that's how they feel good about themselves. By pretending that they aren't the way they are and everybody else is the problem. That's how they're able to make it. Okay? So he says, therefore, vigilance against be therefore vigilant against denying what is still in the need of forgiveness within you. For what you deny, you will project, and each projection is a hurtful act to yourself. Of course, it's also hurtful to the other, but primarily to yourself. There is much that has been said in this lesson that needs to be read again and again and again, so that the mind begins to truly grasp how important and how powerful forgiveness is. You will reach a place where you absolutely delight in going through the day expressing forgiveness. Wow, that'd be awesome. Forgiveness itself becomes a delightful energy to live within. Beloved friends, forgive yourself as well. So, then he jumps down in a paragraph and says, you will know what it means to walk in this world, yet not to be of this world. So what does that mean? Walking in the world, but not being of the world. It means walking in the world, but not thinking like the world. You're walking in the world, but you're not looking at things the way the world looks at it. So you're in it, but you're not of it. If you're of it, you think like it. And the Course in Miracles says reduces that very simply. It says the world believes one simple thing. It's your fault. That's basically it. It's always somebody's fault other than the person. You know, we would be better if Obamacare was working better. We would be better if the Republicans changed. We'd be better if the Democrats changed. Everything would be all right if black folk was different. Things would be all right if white folks. If rich people. It's like the world is all about is everything but me that's determining how I feel and what's going on in my experience. And in the world, people pat you on the back when you play victim. They'll actually get upset with you if you take too much responsibility. If you actually say, well, I'm the one who had just as much to do with what happened in my relationship as the other person did. No, honey child, no, that wasn't nothing. You didn't have nothing to do with that. He was just a dog. You know, it's like the world is it always wants you to play the victim, that you had nothing to do with it. And then at the level of being not of the world, you are a person who's taking responsibility for your own happiness, and you're taking responsibility for your own peace. I was talking about it in a class a few weeks ago. It was kind of like a challenge in a way I could tell when I mentioned to people that there was no such thing as being incompatible with anybody. That incompatibility is the result of expecting someone else to make you happy. That's all incompatibility means. Somehow or another, you're holding that person responsible for your peace, and they're not doing their part, so you say you're not compatible with them. But if I really saw myself as 100% responsible for my peace and my happiness, then what would I be getting upset with you about? Because it's nothing about you that's affecting how I'm feeling about myself. So then I could simply choose to be with you and not choose to be with you. It doesn't mean I necessarily be with you because of that. But I certainly could get along with you peacefully, because why wouldn't I get along peacefully with someone that I'm not trying to change, and I'm not trying to control, and I'm not trying to act out my scripts for how they should be for me to be happy? Follow me? So as you grow in consciousness, you less and less and less and less hold other people responsible for what you're feeling, and you hold yourself responsible for your joy. And if you're doing that, then you cut down on grievances, because expectation is the mother of grievances. Expectation is the mother. If you want to create a grievance, then have a bunch of expectations, and you're going to have grievances all day long. So people who are full of grievances are people who are full of scripts and expectations of everybody around them. That's where it's coming from. So if I'm angry, I don't deny that I'm angry. The difference is I'll say, I'm making myself angry about this. That's the way it comes out of my mouth. I'm really making myself angry about this. And the anger is something or someone not acting out my script. And my anger is my attempt to make somebody feel so guilty that they do act out my script. So if I go off on you enough, you will do what I want you to do. So that's why sometimes if you're in a relationship, there's a lot of control and upset in, and you start to practice the truth, which means you're no longer going to allow yourself to be controlled and dominated, then the other person can escalate their anger because it's usually worked in the past. And so they think if they just go through ballistic, that will make you change back to what it is they want you to do. And that's the toughest part of making that shift, is you have to not respond to it and not give in to it, because then you're teaching them that if they attack you, they get what they want. And you don't want to teach somebody, if they attack you, they get what they want. So it almost becomes, as long as you're attacking me, as long as you're going off on me, we're not going to get anywhere until you stop. And then at the point you stop, then we'll talk and we'll see how we can work this out in a way that works for both of us. And it takes guts to do that. Because, I mean, my God, you could actually lose the person who's dogging you out. They might actually don't want to be with you anymore. Isn't that a tragedy? The person that's really judging you and condemning you is leaving you. My God, call them back. Beg them to return. Don't go, don't go. You're giving me exactly what I think I deserve. So if you want anybody out there that wants a relationship, the Course in Miracles says all you have to say to the universe is this: I'm ready to learn. Just say that to the universe: I'm ready to learn. And you will have relationships that will be offered to you. Isn't that wonderful? It's not really complex. So the Course says that you will know what it means to walk in this world, yet not to be of this world. And when you look in the mirror, you will say, behold, the Savior appears. It will not be an egoic arrogance that says, you are the Savior, but the recognition of what's true always. And what's true always is that you are the Creator's child, and you were sent into this world to bring light into this world. We were sent into this world to bring love into this world. Why do you think we're trying to think so differently? As a matter of fact, why is it that we're trying to think so differently? Because when you think about it, why would we? You know, it's not like we see things on the TV that's saying this. It's not like when we're around the average friend, relative, we're hearing any of this. It's not like we go to the movies and we hear the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, right? So why is it that we seem to be interested in having a new approach? and looking at things differently unless it was an internal motivation, not an external motivation. Nothing on the outside made me get on my spiritual path. It was a yearning on the inside that made me go, as a child, this is crazy. I mean, I can remember being a young child going, this is crazy, and I'm being raised by crazy giants. You know, because to a kid, that's what it looks like. Yeah. Like you looking up, and they're crazy giants, and you're being raised by them. It didn't make any sense, you know. And so there were some of us who came here not wanting to buy into the system. I remember going to church, and I would listen to all the hell and sin and damnation, and you know, and I was a Southern Baptist, and Jesus was really big, and it was like I felt like they were lying on Jesus. It was really funny. It was like, why are they saying that? That's God isn't like that. Jesus isn't like that. You know, what's going on here? You know, and then I would say, you know, Adam and Eve was the first two people, you know, and then, you know, they had Cain and Abel, and then Cain and Abel got married or something. I was like, wait a minute, if Adam and Eve was the first two people and Cain, who they married? Don't you dare question about it. Had it to it, everything on earth get on the boat. And who was responsible for cleaning up all that poop? You know, it was like, don't you dare! You know what I'm saying? And so you were taught not to question. And if you were actually attacked. It was hate. Yeah. If you did. So my point in saying that was some of us come into this plane already not buying it. And then we feel ostracized and we feel weird, and people think we're weird because we come here awake enough to know that this, in other words, we come here awake enough to have common sense. The Course calls the Course in Miracles calls the second coming of Christ the return of our common sense. That's a great definition of the second coming of Christ, the return of my sanity. That is, and that's what happens in stuff like this. It's like to get us back to the place that we accept that we're loving, that we accept that we're connected to each other, that we accept that we're responsible for how we feel, that we accept that we should have a fulfilled, loving life surrounded by love without attack and without guilt. And if we make mistakes, they should be lovingly corrected. You know, in other words, you just start to become more sane. But the more sane you become, the crazier you seem to insane people. Then they call you crazy. That's why part of being conscious is knowing when to be quiet. Because the more conscious you become, the less you engage people who are asleep. Because people who are asleep are people who are unaware and they don't know, and they attack what they fear. So if you're conscious, you just blend in, have as peaceful or loving experiences you can have with your friends and relatives, want to see them as happy as you possibly can, try to be a living demonstration of it, but you don't try to change anybody. Because those who are going to be changed through you will be sent to you. They'll show up, and most people that you really help, you don't even know you've helped them. And the people that you consciously chose to help are still having therapy as a result of your decision to be very helpful to them. I love how the Course says consciously selected miracles can be misguided. You know, me sitting back saying who I'm going to help. You know, you'd be surprised how many people have been harmed by people who had good intentions. The Course says, you know, beware of your good intentions. Because there's a lot of suffering that happens because of good intentions. I don't really know what you all need. So it's not up for me to sit here and then to say, you need this and I'm going to give it to you. You know, my attitude about people that come to my classes is that they're being sent by their own higher self and by spirit. That's why I never know who's going to be here. And anybody that's coming for a while, like, you know, some of you are, you don't know. You can come here one week and you can't hardly get in the room, and then you come next week and it's 5-10 people. You know, that's because people are being sent. There's no accidents. And so he says that's true about everybody that's in your life. They're not there by accident. There's no one in your life that's there by accident. They all came to help you heal. They're a blessing, especially the ones who upset you. Those are the ones to see as the biggest opportunities of all. You know. God, you making me so mad. What a blessing. How wonderful to feel this way about you right now. So, the course is saying practice it, right? So we were sent to bring light to the world. That's the same as saying we were here to bring truth to the world. And so, now, in the lesson 4, we're going to jump to lesson 4, which is called Following the Thread of Desire. But before we do that, any questions or comments about anything that you've heard so far? It's okay to, you know, you don't have to agree with me. If everybody needs to agree with me, I don't need to be sitting up here. So it's okay to have whatever thoughts and feelings and questions that you might have. My brother.
I got more or less a comment on something that kind of popped up in my head when you were talking about all that and people acting out scripts. I had this girl who I was, I guess, kind of talking to, if you want to call it that. But she came over my apartment a couple nights ago and was all yelling at me and went on this whole like 45-minute rant on everything I was doing wrong and how I was making her feel. And at the end of it, I just kind of smiled and said, "You're right." And she got really mad. You're not supposed to say that. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, are you gonna argue with me? I was like, I can't argue with how you feel. Like, I haven't really talked to her again since then. That's
you probably won't hear from her again.
No. But and after all that, I kind of am glad that. But anyway, like that's why I was kind of smiling and cracking up the whole time you were going through all that. I just figured I'd share it.
Well, if there's no opposition, there's no way you can keep the conflict going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So by you saying you're right, there was nowhere for her to go.
Yeah.
You know.
She stood up and said, "You're not supposed to act like that."
There you go. So a sane person would go, "Wow. Okay, which basically means I'm hearing you. You know, I hear what you're saying, and I can see how you could feel that way from your point of view. So that's the other thing, because like you said, you can't argue with the feeling. Everybody's got a right to their feelings, how they feel. That's really how they feel. That's not a lie, but the feeling might not be based on anything that's true, but the feeling is true for them. You know, and that was a brilliant way to respond, you know, and then you ask yourself, what's the purpose? What am I in this for? You know, do I really want this? You know, she's totally innocent, but do I really want a relationship where a person is saying you?
Well, that's another thing. Like I found since I kind of like opened that door to spirituality, like I haven't had any kind of serious relationship in the past 18 months, 2 years.
Well, that's part of the reward.
You know what? Like, honestly, I think it might be, but
see, sometimes people think I'm anti-special relationship, and I always tell them I'm not anti-special relationships. I'm anti all of the fear and the guilt and projection and hell that we give each other in relationship. I think relationship is awesome.
It's just like the things that I used to look for in relationships before, like it's totally like 180'd and shifted. Like I found all these things that like used to look good about a girl, like going out to clubs and getting. It's just like the things now like are like total opposite, you know, and it's hard to find that.
No, it finds you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you start to become more conscious, you don't have to look for any relationships because the relationships are sent to you. Because when you really want to wake up and you really want to have an evolutionary relationship, then only really your higher self really knows who fits that bill as far as you're concerned. So a lot of times the relationships that are the most powerful show up in a totally unexpected manner in a very unexpected place. So but it will. If you really want that lesson, it will show up, you know. And all you have to do in any relationship is to try to be interested instead of interesting, and it'll be a big breakthrough for you. Most people are trying to be interesting instead of wanting to be interested. So I'm here with you tonight. It's amazing. Have you ever gone out with somebody? It could be a friend. Y'all hang out for the whole evening, or somebody new, and they never ask you one question about yourself. Nothing about what's going on with you. Nothing. The whole evening they're talking about themselves and what's going on with them, and then they'll leave and say it was the best evening they've ever had, and you were the best conversationalist they've ever been with, and they can't wait to go out with you again, and you're saying, oh God, please don't let me create this again. I never want to go out with them again for the rest of my life. Because if a person's that self-absorbed, you know what they would be like in a relationship. People pretty much reveal themselves in about 15 minutes to anybody that knows what to look for. It's not really that hard to tell, right? That's what awareness means. I'm more conscious now. I'm really listening now. The thing that men are accused not do very much is what I specialize in. Let me listen to what you're saying, because you'll tell me everything I need to know if I listen. And if I know who I am and what I want, then I know whether what you're saying corresponds with what I want. And then I'll know immediately whether or not I should proceed in this direction. But sometimes your feelings will take over, and you'll feel this real attraction to someone, even though you think they're not good for you. And so you'll talk yourself into the lesson.
So it's the nutty ones that you get that attraction for too.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's like the condition.
Yeah.
At first, I noticed that my greatest passion back in the day was with the women I had the most conflict with. Those would be the ones I had the most sexual attraction to. And the one that was really, really peaceful and loving, I wasn't as attracted to. Until you start loving yourself, then it flips. Then all of a sudden you're more turned on by the person that's sane and loving, and you'll find yourself not feeling any kind of physical attraction to people who aren't that way. And sometimes you wonder what's wrong with you, and it look like people are moving out of your life, and it look like people are dropping away. Instead of you having more friends, it look like you have less friends, and all that's part of the weeding out process, because now you're choosing for peace, and so you have to draw people to you who also want peace. And then you find out how many people think conflict is life, and that life is conflict, and that peace is death. That's why they say rest in peace, because we actually associate death with peace and life with conflict. So some people have to have conflict to feel alive. Their lives are so boring and so unfulfilling that the only thing they have to entertain themselves is drama. So you take their drama away, and they really don't have anything to do or anything to focus on. Does that ring true? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all know people like that. They got to have some kind of drama going on. Else they're just going to work, coming home, watching TV. But if they can have the drama of their relationship, and the drama of not having money, and the drama of having a problem, then at least that gives them something. But for me, it's like, ugh. You know, I get tired just thinking about it. Don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now the thing about using this is that if you follow along the book, it's hard for me to tell you what the page is, because
you talking about lesson 4?
Yeah, because I'm at the
41.
I'm further in it now, so I'm at the part that says just the way, because I'm hitting really powerful points. I'm not going to go verbatim.
Just like the wave.
Yes, it's just like the okay.
That's bottom of page 42.
Okay, that's where I'm going now. Okay, because I'm not really trying to go paragraph by paragraph the whole book, because it's pretty much nobody's going to be here every week for the whole book. So, all right. So just like the wave, you can decide to find a way to transcend limitation. Oh, wait a minute. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything they want to say? Any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
What you said about good intentions was striking to me, because it doesn't only leave a bad taste in the mouth of the person you're trying to project that good intention onto. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth afterwards. After all the conflict is done, you're like exhausted. Just absolutely exhausted, because you're banging your head up against the brick wall trying to make this change happen for that person. And you're really in no position to tell them this is how it should be in your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
So as a so-called quote-unquote teacher, what you can make yourself feel frustrated about sometimes is that it will seem like you're more excited about the change for the people that are coming to you than they are. It's like you will be more excited about what you can share and what y'all can do together than the person that you're actually trying to be helpful to. So you have people who are not excited about their own lives and the possibility. It's almost like I want you to get me excited. I want you to get, and a good teacher is a good motivator, but that's all you can do. Is you can be a motivator, and you try to do everything you can to be a good motivator, and that's all a parent can do. That's all a mate can do. It's possible be a good motivator, but you're gonna have to be in the end the one that's willing to make the shift. You know, so what helps keep me motivated is realizing that everything I'm teaching myself. That I'm the learner as much as anybody else in here. So I'm teaching what I want to learn. And then that allows me to let people be and not be so caught up with, the Course says continued concern is attack because it's a reflection of a lack of faith. So if I really had faith in you, I wouldn't be continually concerned about you. And if I really had faith in God, I wouldn't be continually concerned about you. And if I'm really practicing true giving, then I relinquish all concern about what you do with the gift after I give it to you. It actually is imprisoning to you to give you something and then try to make sure you use it. And so he says we give gifts to imprison people. We call it a gift, but it's really an imprisoning. You know. So yeah, that's the part of, that's what's so cool about these spiritual awareness is that you think you're going to have to do more, but it's actually an undoing. It's actually asking you to do less. It's your doings that's causing the problem. And you think it's that I'm not doing enough, is that you're doing too much. You're generally taking too much responsibility. Almost to the point you can't allow yourself to enjoy your own experience. See, the greatest gift you could give to your friends and relatives is the demonstration of your own happiness. And then through your own happiness, they might ask you, what is it you're doing that's making you so much more peaceful? And then that's the person, you let them have it 100%. You don't hold back. You tell them everything. But a good teacher is a demonstrator, right? So if you demonstrated the result of what you were studying, and then somebody said, "Wow, I'm noticing you handling things a lot differently than you used to," then that's when you know you're getting it. But if I'm telling people about this great class that I'm going through that's changing my life, but I'm acting the same, look the same, and just as depressed as ever, it's hard for them to believe that what you're studying is being helpful. I'm studying this good stuff called A Course in Miracles, but pardon me while I jump off the building. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to believe that it's actually, at that point, is really being helpful. So, he says, just like the wave, you can decide to find a way to transcend limitation, to become re-identified with the consciousness, which is a living awareness that you are one with the depth of everything. So decide that you can operate not from the superficial level of awareness that might be like the foam at the tip of the wave, which you call your conscious or egoic mind, but that you can become informed in all that you speak and all that you do and all that you create and all that you perceive by that which rests at the very infinite depth of the whole of the ocean of consciousness itself. So imagine drawing upon a well within you that seems to have no bottom and sides, through which something is pouring forth from places unseen, in which your literal conscious attention or awareness seems to be colored with radiant light, a light that literally leaves you feeling that you are not the body, mind, or the personal history with which you have identified before, and an awareness that these things are only temporary and very impersonal effects of a level of desire within your soul, which is one and the same thing as the love of God expressing itself with no other reason than that love must be extended. Imagine transcending your fear of your own survival, because as you look upon your body, mind, you are no longer identified as that body, mind. It has become a tool to be utilized by the love that rests in the mind of God. You live, yet no longer you, but the true self, or the Christ, dwells as you. This is a very real experience to be lived. Now, what we just heard was simply this. You are more than you think you are. You're more than you taught yourself that you are. You're more than your body. And you're more than the things that you're thinking in your mind, and that you are really here to be utilized by the love that created you to bring love into this experience. It's almost like we are conduits to let this love, this infinite love, come through here, because it's not going to be here unless it comes through us. But it's telling us that we're like a conduit that's blocked so that the love can't get through because of the things we believe in our minds, and also the fact that we think we're just physical bodies that are temporarily here. So we've lost sight of our spiritual identity, is what it's saying. We've lost sight of the fact that we are more than just physical beings, that we are souls, that we're infinite spirit. And so if we would get out of the way, the love and the spirit that created us would function through us. And when it functioned through us, all of that love and power and infinite wisdom would have an effect on us. And then we would live a transformed life. That we can't give ourselves the happiness that we are trying to give ourselves. That it's going to come through us, but it doesn't come for us. It teaches that what we do is we make up what we think is going to make us happy, and then we pursue it. And then we try to control everyone around us to fulfill roles that we've assigned to them to help us achieve our fantasy of what's going to make us happy. Does that make sense to everybody? And then we get upset with them when they don't play the role we've assigned to them in what we think our life was meant to be. And we're even tempted to call them selfish and unsupportive because they are not allowing themselves to be controlled by our fantasy of what we think they are supposed to do to make us happy. Whew. All right. And he says, and then the Course in Miracles says the way you can tell that your desires did not come from your divine self, it's two things that happen. As soon as you achieve it, you're not satisfied. That's the first. He says the first clue that your desire did not come from your true self. And then he says another way you can tell when you're listening to your own plan and not your divine plan is you'll say something like, "How did I end up in this situation?" You'll go, "How did I end up in this impossible situation? How did I end up in this job? How did I end up in this financial situation? How did I end up in this relationship?" He says those are the questions that come up when it's your plan and when it's what you're making up for your happiness. As soon as you get it, you want something else. As soon as you get it, you're not the least bit. And think about it. The world almost teaches that if you achieve something and you actually allow yourself to enjoy it, to be satisfied with it, and to focus in on it, that you're a slacker. That you are really being a spiritual person if you're never satisfied and you're always seeking for something else all the time. And when you step back for a minute, you can see how that is completely insane. Because you would never allow yourself to actually appreciate nothing that happens to you in your life. Where it actually works the other way. The Course teaches if you appreciate something in the present moment, then that in turn goes into the next present moment, and then the next present moment, and it expands and it grows. And so what happens is, again, we need to be present. So then it becomes, what is it I'm grateful for? What can I focus on right now in my experience that I'm grateful for? Who am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? Because the more I focus on gratitude, then the more I have to be grateful for. And it starts to extend, and it starts to encompass your whole life. Always remember, there's someone that always needs you just the way you are. Just the way you are. Just the way you are. It's what they need. It's perfect for them. Wow. I'm so tired of trying to change myself in order to be okay for somebody else. So somebody else will like me. You know, and again, that's another one of them teacher things. You learn so much in the teacher role because you're always so tempted to try to make sure that everybody likes you. So you'll come back. And I was fortunate enough to learn that no matter what I do, nobody's coming back. After 30 years, you begin to realize that everybody's passing through. And so you, as a teacher, you learn a lot about the power of having to release. of non-attachment. Because at the beginning, I would get attached because I cared about everybody. Like, we all have this good energy. I'm used to seeing y'all. So then I start to really like you and look forward to seeing you and all that. And then poof, gone. Because maybe you learned as much as you needed to get from me. And then you move on. But I had to learn over the years to be 100% present with whoever was in front of me right now, because I might not ever see them again. You know, rather than go. So I teach like I'll never see you again. I don't teach you like I'll see you every week. I teach you like I'm gonna give you everything I got in this hour, because I might not ever see you anymore. And that would be okay, because that's in divine order. Now, when I can get to the point that I do that with my personal relationships, and we can do that with our personal relationships, we're on the way to nirvana. When you can feel that way about all your relationships. Like it says, is a part where he says in this book that you'll get to the point that when somebody makes that physical transition called death, that instead of being sad about it, you'll be so aware of their eternal nature as a soul that actually you'll feel your grief about not being in their physical presence, but you'll also be happy for their unlimited experience of their reality outside of the body now. You know. And so actually when someone died, you would not be feeling like you've lost them forever. You just know that they laid the body aside. I've gone to funerals, and I've very seldom seen people react to the body in the casket the way that they would react to that same body if it was alive. You know, I haven't seen nobody, even if it was their boyfriend, I ain't never seen them give them a good French kiss in the casket. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have a different attitude. We know that's not that person. It's like you stand in front of that and you know that's not that person. But what enlightenment is being with each other right now and then saying your body is not you. That's really awesome to know that that's true right now, that none of you are your bodies, and that I'm really relating to the spirit that's you. You know, but we get mesmerized by the body because we've been taught to be mesmerized by the body, and that's why when the body begins to change, we begin to get self-conscious, because we know that so much of our appeal to people has to do with how attractive our body is to them, and that's why people spend so much time trying to have a healthy body more than a healthy mind, because primarily having a good-looking body gets you more friends than having a good-looking mind. I mean, you know, let's just be frank about it. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've seen women just go, "Oh, I gotta have him," and they just saw him, and I'd be like, "Here I am. How come you don't feel that way about me?" You know, and I'm being nice and understanding and listening to you and talking to you and working hard to get next to you, and you see, you know, him come in and, "Oh Lord, how can I get him? How can I get him?" And he haven't said nothing. He might be a damn serial killer, you know. But he got some good biceps, and that's enough. And it's not just, it worked both ways, obviously. You know what I'm saying? So now I've changed. I'm much more interested in the mind of the person than the body of the person, and my ego don't know what to do with that. It's like I'm having to be completely rewired. You know, because I don't respond like I used to. It takes more than looking at a female body to get me turned on now. And that wasn't the case for a large part of my life. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, you know, if your mind wasn't cool, I'd give you the course book. You know, we worked that out. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, them buns. So then all of a sudden you come to realize that everybody's pretty much got a body here. So it's plenty of them to go around. Yeah, so now we can work on the mind a little bit more, right? So then he goes on to say, in a few paragraphs over, when next someone asks you, "Who are you?" Now this is really deep. He says, when someone asks you, "Who are you?" You're at a party, right? He says, when somebody asks you, "Who are you?" Because you know how it is at a party. What do you do? What's your sign? And it's important to know this sign. Okay, save you a lot of time, actually. I love how most people don't realize how astrology can be used as a way to get information. So it actually makes it kind of to your advantage, because it really does save you a lot of time. You know, we come here with a divine plan. We don't just drop in. We actually choose our parents. And we choose the social economic situations that we're born into. I chose to be in the black body. I chose the parents that I came to. And when you look at your life as if it's that your choice, it immediately you forgive your parents, you forgive your siblings. I forgive anything that's around racism because I chose it. Now, how I can't prove that to you, but what is it that makes me feel like that might be true? How it makes me feel. It empowers me to believe that I wasn't a victim, that I wasn't born just because two people had sex one night or one day. That there was more meaning to my life than that. You know, it empowers me to say I don't have a relationship right now because I don't want one right now, or I have a relationship right now because I want one right now. It's never empowering to say I want to have a relationship and it's not showing up. It's a trick whenever you tell yourself something's happening to you that's not happening to you by your consent, because then you're trapped. You have to play big to play like that, though. You know, that's not for little children's souls. Don't play at that level. That you go, I'm not a victim of my experience at all. You know, my income is exactly what I want my income to be. Now, let me choose for something else. But not like I'm the victim of the economy. No conscious being says that they don't have money because of the economy. No conscious being says they don't have a relationship because they can't find nobody. You're not a victim ever. Ever, 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 ever. Ever. What? Yeah, that's right. When I was 10 years old and I got hit by a car, some level my soul attracted that for some kind of lesson I was supposed to learn. Now, can I prove that to you? No. How does that make me feel? Empowered. So I'm going in the direction of power. And it's amazing. The more you assume responsibility, the less things happen to you that upset you. Most people don't believe that, though. They think it's all about never admitting that they created it. If you say every relationship I've ever had, I was the one that contributed to everything that happened into it, it happened in it as much as the other person, now you're on the way to having the best kind of relationship you ever had in your life with the coolest person you could imagine. Because you'll meet other people who want to assume responsibility just like you. And it is a joy being in friendship and in relationship with another person who takes responsibility for their experience. Oh, it's so cool. And once you have friends and relationships like that, you can never go back to being in intimate relationships with people who constantly project and blame. You can't do it. It's like trying to put yourself back in the shoes you wore when you were 10 years old. You can't do it. If you really changed, you can't go back to what you used to do, but neither do you condemn it. And neither do you condemn the people that's still doing what you used to do. So if you transcended something, you don't condemn the people that's still doing what you transcended. You don't stop smoking and then condemn everybody that still does. You don't stop drinking and then condemn everybody that still does. You don't, if you're condemning, you haven't transcended it yourself, and you're still full of guilt about it, and you're still vulnerable to doing it again yourself. That's why you're attacking everybody that's still doing it, because of your own temptation to do it some more. Woo! Whoa! Man! So when next someone asks you, who are you, please don't give them a name. Do not say, well, I was born in a certain town, in a certain part of the planet. Don't tell them that you are a Democrat. Don't tell them that you are a Republican or a communist or an atheist or a Catholic. And most of the time when you ask people who they are, they tell you what they do, as if they actually are their job. Which is, I always think is really funny, that people think they are their job. And he says, tell them the truth. Now, if you got nerve enough to say this, I want y'all to give me the feedback when you try this, because I haven't tried this yet, but I'm going to do it just to see what happens. Okay, this is what you would say. Like you say, hey, I'm hanging out with you. I just met you for the first time. And you go, who are you? So ask me, who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I? I am the extension of love in form.
Well, I can't say anything to that.
I'm not through yet. I'm not through yet. I'm just getting started, all right? It's a good start. I'm especially the extension of love in form since I've met you. I'm counting on the extension of love. I love to talk about sex because people got so much hang-ups about it. So I get accused of being sexually obsessed. He's just too sexual. I don't consider things sexual. You know, it's like, no, the stuff that I have a tendency, I've learned the most guilt about is the stuff I want to stop being afraid to communicate about. You know. But anyway, I am the extension of love in form. I have never been born, and I will never taste death. I am infinite and eternal.
So what do you think about that?
I shine forth as a sunbeam to the sun. And by that time, you like trying to get away from me. By then, you're like on your, I'm just going to be a little fruit punch out. You know, yeah.
We're trying to get a sip, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. Can I have some of your medical marijuana?
I think somebody said something like that to me at a Grateful Dead show once.
That's why you go to a Grateful Dead show.
Yeah.
There are a lot of bands I go to their shows because of the audience as much as I go because of the band. And a lot of people don't realize that certain bands attract really cool audiences that are real loving and open and sharing and because they generate love. I was at one of those just last weekend where I was like stunned at just how loving the people were around me. And the Grateful Dead draws that kind of a crowd to them. It's funny, they call them dead heads, but they're really live heads. You know. So I'm going to start a group called the Grateful Live. Oh, by the way, stay here. You can't go. I'm not through telling you who I am yet.
Wow.
I am infinite and eternal. I shine forth as a sunbeam to the sun. I am the effect of God's love. And I stand, this is like you like the last line. And I stand before you to love you.
I'm really running away.
Right. Now, but I'm gonna tell you about me. If someone said that to me now, they would really make me interested in them. Because they are truly saying something unique. They're truly saying something different. And then I'm conscious enough to go, wait a minute. They said they were infinite and eternal. They said that they were here to love. They said that they weren't here to die. They said that they were an extension of love. See, if you're conscious, you know that's what a conscious being says. So instead of being frightened, you be more interested to talk to them. That's going to be, because that's what I do. If I go to a party, usually I can't stand a lot of small talk. So what I usually do is I'll walk up to somebody. First, I'll feel the place out and just see is there anybody that's also noticing me. Okay, because it's always easy to make a connection with somebody that wants to. It's a radical concept. So, and I'll ask them. You'd be amazed if you just ask a simple question like, "Wow, man, this has been really an incredible year. What do you think you've learned the most this year in your personal life?" And you'd be shocked at how many people will go deep into a conversation with you just because you were interested, and because everybody's learning lessons, but then nobody actually usually asks them what it is you're learning, and before you know it, you're talking to this person to the intimate level, which is one of the most intimate levels you can ever talk to somebody, which is talking to somebody like you're on an airplane. You don't get too much more intimate than that. I've heard people sitting behind me, because I fly on an airplane, who just meet each other, they tell each other everything about each other that you could imagine about their relationships, their children, what they're good, because they know they're not going to ever see them again. And so they really open up. It's amazing to me how people will open up in that kind of a situation. And so if you ask a person, like, what is it that you're really learning this year, they usually will start to really, you all end up having a very interesting conversation, more so than if you ask them anything else. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to memorize this, or I'm going to take it out on a sheet of paper. Wait a minute, hold up. Then a little sheet of paper. And then I say, who am I? I am love. I am the extension of love in form. I've never been born and I'll never taste death. And it says right here, and that will raise some eyebrows. It will also transform your world. For it is time to stop seeking the Christ. When it says the Christ, it means the true self as you were created. It says it's time to stop seeking that true self outside and start choosing to take responsibility for being Christ incarnate, which is the incarnation of love. So when I go out, I say to myself, I'm going out to give and receive love. I'm coming to this class to give and receive love. I'm walking down the street to give and receive love. And then the prayer that I say from the way of mastery in the morning is a very simple statement, which is, God, live your life through me today. Spirit, live your life through me today. Whatever you want to have done, do it through me today. And it creates magical days when you do stuff like that. It took me a lot of spiritual study to get that I didn't really know what makes me happy. But that which created me did. You know, whatever created the cow, created the grass that the cow eats. They came as a package deal. Right? Have you noticed that? Right? So why wouldn't that be true about us? That whatever created us also created what would sustain us. But what we do is we come here, act like we created ourselves, so then we think it's up to us to make up what's sustains. That's like the cow coming here and saying it's got to come up with the grass. Only it thinks that it would really be more healthy if it ate cotton candy. Right? And so then the cow gets sick and dies because it's not eating what sustains it. And in the course, these books are saying the same thing to us. That the reason why we are so unhappy, broken into by periods where it look like we are, is that we are trying to sustain ourselves. And we are acting like we created ourselves. And we're acting like there's nothing more intelligent than us that we can turn to. And that's where the pain is coming from. Not going within. So as a teacher, I'm never trying to put myself in a position that people are following me, because for one thing, that means I'm walking alone. If somebody following you, they're not with you. And if they leading you, they're not with you. I want brothers and sisters walking beside me. I don't need anybody following me, because if you play the role of leader or follower, you're going to get attacked. Because people get mad at you when you won't be the follower when they want to be the leader. And then they get mad at you when you won't take the lead and they want to be the follower, and you don't know when they're going to change their mind. Like one minute they want you to lead them, and all of a sudden they're resenting you for doing it. And so the leader-follower role isn't a whole lot of fun. So I'm not interested in that role. I'm interested in having people that are walking with me. And we are walking together toward the light and toward the love. And if you're going to do anything as a leader, you just want to be a little bit ahead, because what's the cool thing about being a little bit ahead? I can say, hey, watch out for that pothole. You see? You know, it's like by me having studied this so many years, I can go, hey, watch out for that pothole. But it doesn't make me better than you. You see what I'm saying? So that's all this is about. We are supposed to save each other time. That's what a relationship is for. And that's what you're doing in my life. So I appreciate you. Would you acknowledge yourself? Holy Spirit! Make yourself hear this much. Awesome. All right, we're going to do the financial expression of appreciation, as I like to call it. And thank you for sharing with me in my full-time ministry. Those of you on the internet watching this, thank you so much for your financial expressions of appreciation. And if you like to make one, you can go to my website at earlpurdy.com, and you can do it there. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions, where I give you insight into how to handle whatever it is in your life that's not working in your perception that you'd like to see changed. And I use also my knowledge of astrology and numerology if you're open for it. And I do phone sessions and Skype sessions. And so I'm available for people that are watching my classes, which I found out It's being watched in 87 countries,
So
Wow.
cool.
which is a trip.
That's so cool.
Which is a trip. I'm so glad. I mean, I'm getting emails from Uganda and New Zealand and Hoochie Coochie in New York. And it's been really been awesome. It's been awesome. I love how Spirit is so sincere about our awakening that it actually makes the world available to all of us to reach and to teach. Because it's weird to think there's a group of people sitting here in the room right now, and what's 20 of us, but it's 12,000 people that watch these videos. So Spirit is using me in ways beyond my wildest imagination. And what's really deep is when you do this, you don't even know the effect that you're having on people. Like, I'll never know the effect that this is having, and hopefully it's having a good effect.
Of course. It is.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course
Thank
it
you,
is.
thank you,
Of
darling.
course it is.
That's right.
I told you we went to Thailand this summer.
That's right. You were telling me about you in Thailand, and you were
You had a
watching.
really good time.
So that's what happened. I remember. Yeah. It's such a blessing. I feel so thankful that I'm being used, and it feels good to be used. You know how a car rusts when you don't use it, and that's the way we are. If you don't allow yourself to be used for your divine plan, then your life doesn't feel right unless you're being used. It's okay to use people if you don't mind being used yourself. Use is not a bad word. And kind of people act like use is a bad word, but it's not. It's good to be used. I don't mind. My frustration is sometimes I don't think I'm being used enough, or that I'm being utilized enough, really. And so that's a shift, because once you realize that everybody is you, then you feel a desire to be helpful to every part of yourself. And then I look at you as all a part of me, and we're all one. So your growth is my growth. Your happiness is my happiness. Your awakening is my awakening. Your safety is my safety. Imagine what it would be like to be with someone who felt as protective of your innocence and your well-being as you do, because they think it's theirs too. That would be cool. And that's the kind of relationships that I want to have. Okay? So, we got 5 minutes. I'm going to finish it up with a little review. And so I want you to just kind of breathe and let it in. If you're not on my contact list, I would invite you to put yourself on it, because I sent out links to these classes that I record. I put them on my website, and I also put them on YouTube. So those who are watching, if you Google my name, I got over 700 classes on YouTube. So, and I've met people who said they watched 300 or 400, or who have said they watch 3 or 4 a day, every day. It trips me out. It trips me out how some people really value what comes through me, but not from me. That's how I keep my ego in check. I know it's not coming from me. I know that's true because I'm still learning how to do what I'm saying. The beauty about doing it so long is you stop beating yourself up when you make a mistake.
Hopefully you're laughing more.
It's absurd. It's like sometimes I look at the stuff I do and I have to laugh. Rather than beat myself up, I have to go, oh, this is just. How about y'all had that experience where you just got yourself into something that was just so you just had to laugh at it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to finish on love tonight. The most frightening word sometimes you can say to somebody that now I feel more comfortable about. Remember, the truth teaches that love means gratitude. That's one of the definitions. I appreciate you. So whenever I say I love somebody, I always in my mind transpose it to I appreciate you. People are not afraid of being appreciated. They appreciate being appreciated. But usually when you say I love you to a person, they feel a little frightened, because usually the most pain they've gone through in their lives has been through the people who said they loved them, or who should have loved them, they thought. So love can be a frightening word to us. So I love how it says what is appreciation. So I always say I love and appreciate you, because I want people to know I'm talking about. I'm not trying to get anything. I just want to appreciate, because somebody who loves me, I don't have to get anything from them anyway. They want to give. You never have to seduce somebody who loves you. So breathe, and I'm going to repeat are you. You are the extension of love in form. You are the extension of love in form. You have never been born, and you will never taste death. You are infinite and eternal. You shine forth as a sunbeam to the sun. I love that. You are the effect of God's love. You are the effect of God's love, and you stand before me for me to love you. I sit before you to love you. You sit before me to love me. I sit before you to love you. And I sit before you to love you.
What I need, I'm open to suggestions. I accept success. I take responsibility. Abundance flows through me, and I prosper. I prosper.
This is Reverend Yolanda.
Because I love myself.
You can go on Amazon.
I forgive myself.
You get this music. It's called Reverend Yolanda's Country Kitchen of Love. Life feels good.
And I can have what I want.
Have what I want.
And I want joy. And I want peace.
You are the extension of love in form. You have never been born, and you will never taste death. You are more than your body. You are an infinite spiritual being having a human experience. I say you are an infinite being having a human experience. You are more than a man. You are more than a woman. You are more than a body. You are more than a person. You are spirit. You are love. You are infinite. You are unlimited. I am infinite and eternal. You are infinite and eternal, and you sit before me to love me, and I sit before you to love you. So if you're ready for loving relationships, you want to tell yourself, I am ready to learn. I am ready to learn. I am ready to learn what love is. I am ready to learn what love is. I am ready to learn what love is. Something you really want right now, something in your heart. No one else knows what you're asking for. Take this opportunity while we're together to ask for something that you really want in your heart right now.
Sometimes my heart is heavy laden.
I love bluegrass funk. Soul Body Companions, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Course in Miracles. Hope to see you there next week. We'll continue with the Way of Mastery, and may the course be with you. I love you. I appreciate y'all. All right. Hugs are available for people who don't mind good old juicy hugs. I appreciate y'all.